Howdy folks, welcome again back to Rosgreaves Gaming with another video, and we got another video in the premium spotlight, and well, Wargaming. I appreciate you bringing out new content and premiums for us warship players, but as a person who does, reviews for your, premiums, I understand it. But can you please be so kind not to release 3 premiums in a month? So I had to spend all the money and get all these premiums for making me lose all that cash in pockets? For a person who doesn't have a big channel, it kinda hurts him a little bit. Can you please be easy on it? Thank you. Good lord, I had to say that because I am so venting on that, but hey, we got another premium. And it's a German this time. Huh, go figure. So, Z-39. This ship has had a roller coaster history for sure. Being at tier 8, being too weak, and now being put as a tier 8 ship with a health pool to tier 7. Quite the interesting little ship. So, we'll get over this thing real quick, so let's go real fast and then I'll get into the more juicy details as we go. So, she has the highest health pool in all destroyers in tier 7 currently, as I'm being told. Well, no, on 19,600 she has 19 on her sides, 6 on certain spots, and then 30 on the front of that main battery gun. And these guns are 150mm guns, pretty fair accurate, but the thing is they have 835 meters a second velocity, so these shells kind of do a little bit of American lopping over the target, so they kind of have a little bit of a distinction of being that heavy lop in the air kind of shell, which kind of bugs me a little bit. But hey, they're 150mm at close range, they can do some serious punch. Reload 7.5 seconds. Remember, you cannot buff them up because of basic advanced fire training, because these are 150mm. Remember that, folks? Get it? Got it? Good. Next, we have 2 quad 533mm torpedoes, and these suckers can go 65 knots and have 8.5 kilometer range. Pretty good for a German destroyer. And what's the kicker with these is if you buff it with torpedo armor expertise, you can buff the reload to 81 seconds. Pretty damn good, right? A is actually pretty good in this thing. You have two twin 20 mils, 2 quad 20 mils, 2 single 37s, and 6 dual gunned 37 mils. So you got a pretty fair share of anti-air in this thing, and I could say you could actually buff it up if you wanted to, the anti-air defenses on this thing. So we'll talk about more about the skills you could do with this ship later on. Maneuverability with speed flag, you can get it up to 37.8 knots and have a rudder ship. This is stock with me, as you can see with the upgrades on my left of my screen. You can have a rudder ship of 4.5. You can buff it up, but I really wouldn't recommend that because it's already pretty good enough as it is. You're not a land yacht. You don't have a problem with turning in this thing. It doesn't have that kind of issue. Concealment, if you buff it up, which I would recommend, you can get the concealment down to 6.1. That's a pretty good fair share with 8.5 torpedoes and 6.5 concealment. It goes pretty well for this ship. Remember, guys, though, because they're 150mm guns, the detectability in firing in smoke is 3.3. Remember that key factor. Got it? Good. There you go. I think this pretty much sums up what we have for a spec sheet on this ship, so let's get on to the some testing with this thing and some of the stuff I've been showing off with the ship and what it can really do. So let's get to that, shall we? Okay, so we put out the ships and we're going to be trying out some stuff. So these are a couple tier 7 ships, like the Mints were here. So I'm going to pop a few rounds at that and you guys can see clearly what this thing can do. So armor piercing, well, it's going to be typical. Light armor, it's going to overpen. Typical for 150 in the back, spam fire, it's not going to do much. Now, the interesting thing, well, is with, like, for example, an Algerie, lightly armed cruisers. That's going to be where the key thing is. If you can find stupid ships and you're in smoke, this can actually do some good. Now, I'm not talking about this position because, well, it's going to bounce, but watch this. Broadside, going by, you're going to punish cruisers, especially with those citadels, and you have a pretty good reload, so you can actually pen pretty good through lightly armored cruisers and get the actual penetration, so the shots. Now, if the ship's giving you a broadside or an angle to that ship, it's going to bounce. It's given. But you can do with high explosive and arm piercing, if high explosive in the right spots, right? Like, here's high explosive on a battleship. Typical thing, you get 150 millimeter, you're going to do that kind of damage. You're going to get the fire chances nonstop. As long as you're hitting the target and you're hitting above the target, it's going to give you that fire chance, and that's what really you need. You pop in the smoke and you just get that fire chance on that ship. But like I said, the key thing that can be good about these guns is defending itself against actual, you're gonna have to defend yourself against cruisers and destroyers, and that's the key thing. Is it good against high piercing or high explosive, and those kind of factors? And that comes from when's the right time. Now, give a full broadside of a Pensacola. Well, yeah, it's gonna Citadel right on the broadside. But if we back this thing up, and I was just checking to see its auto bounce characteristics, I'm gonna pull this ship back quite a bit. Let's give it its auto bounce angle to be fair to an enemy Pensacola. And you can see right there, I'm not penning, and I'm getting in that spot where the guns are, and I can't pen truly into that position. Now, if I aim further to the back, though, where the engines are going to be, that's a different story. But see, right there, I'm getting the pens, but not much. A lot of it's ricocheting. But I aimed a little further back, and well, yeah, there's the Citadel. So that took his engines out. But remember, these are ideal factors for this ship. The problem with this ship is definitely its gun rotation. You have a because 150 millimeters, you have a very slow gun rotation. And because of that, you're going to have to put yourself in a position, if you're going to have yourself to defend yourself or spam with the team, especially you get a hydroacoustic, you're going to have to put yourself in a position where you're not going to get seen and spam fire with the team. And that's not really your go-to with this ship. Now, truth be told, you can defend yourself against, gun action, but that's not the case. I mean, look at the top. I can pen the top of Nagato right above that waterline, just like, you do BB trying to hit a German, battleship. But that's not the ideal factor with this thing, and I'm going to champion that right now because I know that it kind of seems stupid for me to show this off, but I'm also trying to point out what you can do with this thing and what you can't do. 150 millimeter guns, you're going to be able to pen that top deck of any battleship, pretty much, if you know where you're aiming. If you're trying to aim at, lightly armed cruisers of that aspect, or the heavy cruisers, you're going to have to wait till the broadside. Again, here's a British battleship. I'm going to aim right. See what I mean by the guns? It's taking a long time for me to rotate them. When I do, yeah, you got to aim in a specific spot. And that's what these guns' characteristics uniquely are going to be. And you have to hit these things precisely. And we'll talk about the torpedoes in a minute, but you're going to have to find yourself, if you're in a gunfight, you're going to have to put yourself in a position where you're going to be retreating. You're going to have to kite and bring yourself out of position. This thing is not a gunboat. This is not designed to gun. It cannot withstand the firepower of a lot of DDs. If a guy just saw you, he should be able to beat you. If a American Mahan sees you, he's going to beat you. If a Minsk, you're going to be able to outgun him if he's a complete idiot. If you see a German destroyer at tier 7, he's going to beat you. The Germans are going to beat you. The premium on this thing, because the 150mm guns, they cannot withstand the firefight. And we'll get more into that very soon, but like I said, you're going to have to pen in the right position that's going to be ideal for you. You're going to have the one that's going to have to get in the opportunity. If you don't, and you're caught off hand, you're going to be sorely in severe pain. So let's get into a match. I'll show you what I mean by this. Okay, so here we are on the map Shatter, and this is actually a tier 9 battle, believe it or not. So yeah, you're going to get up tiered in Z-39, but you know what? Even if you are put up to tier 10. This is another good aspect to talking about. You're gonna be okay, and that was the big issue I had with thinking about it. Z-39 just recently, you know. If this was at tier 8, you would have had to battle with Minotaurs and you know, Des Moines and everything else. That would have made it a very seriously problematic destroyer, and it's not ideal for the ship to have. So luckily we don't have that issue with it. But what's nice about straight and the Z or German line is you can do this: hide behind an island, throw a hydroacoustic, and just sit here and wait for the stupidity. And that's the great thing about this thing. It doesn't have the greatest guns in the world, and believe it or not, it isn't. And I was just popping torpedoes just in case somebody does something stupid, but luckily these guys don't do that. Błyskawicka and Gajimata don't actually have that kind of stupidity for once. So I have to be very proud of them for actually not being that foolish, you know. So, you know, they have that going for them. So, you know, here I am holding the line and scouting positions for my team. I might be in smoke, but with my hydroacoustic, I can still see most of the targets. And now I'm just waiting for my torpedoes to reload, and it's only a few more seconds that they're ready to go. And look what happens. Enemy torpedoes, not paying attention, not thinking what's going on, or he's AFK or something away from the keyboard. I popped my torpedoes. I already knew he was going straight forward, and I just walked back and watched the show. Of course, there is allied torpedoes going in, every other torpedo going by. That's why I'm staying at the corner to scout and spot those torpedoes. And well, yeah, that's gonna happen. Sorry, you deserved that, Turpits. Meanwhile, then later on, my ally did smoke me up and actually got me out there gun shooting. Now that's what I was talking about these guns. These guns can't fight other destroyers unless you're hiding in the smoke. And they had to be very unfoolish to themselves. I was very close to hitting my own ally there. But you know what? That's the thing about this thing. You have to pop your torpedoes, pop your smoke, hide in spots, and once you pop them, just throw as much as you can out the window and see what sticks, because if you can get something to stick, you're going to be golden. You're going to smile in the sunshine. Just make sure you can spot with your for your allies, because they cannot take any punishment. And that was my key problem with this thing. You cannot. You know, you might have health pool, but that doesn't mean that you can throw a thing around, but you have to be careful. Know what you're doing. Know what you're doing in positions that you need. And speaking of which, commander-wise, what can you say about this thing? Well, this ship, like I said, here's the guns, shooting. You can't buff them anymore. The only thing you can really do is maybe put an adrenaline rush on them to buff them up. Maybe you can buff it with demolition expert or something to that effect, but really you shouldn't be buffing them for gun hoeing. Germans are okay for this ship is okay for gun shooting, but it's not its great pride and joy. It's really, I think, ideal for you if you really need a tier 7 commander trainer for Germans. That's the ideal thing. I mean, look at this position right here. I held cap that position, and now I look on the map, and look what I see. Just an Iowa sitting there in the middle. Well, my gears turn after assisting everybody else in the main cap and let them fling at those shells of the other team to go after this said Iowa, who is sitting here in the middle, being his smug self, his American smug self. So, and like I said, the torpedoes ready to go again. Pop them again, a little forward, a little back in case he jerks the other way, and walk away. Unfortunately, I do get spotted, but he's not gonna hit me. Maybe his secondaries will, but that's as far as they will go. That's the thing about this ship. Now, like I said, here comes again with the guns. I'm gonna rotate this ship right around. Yeah, watch this. I mean, enter the Jeopardy music, if you will, in your head. I can't do it because, well, you know, royalties and stuff like that, but look how long it takes for the guns to rotate. Is like an eternity for them to go. So really, you have to be putting them in a position you're actually going to actually fling them and get them in the right position. If not, they're worthless. So yeah. So back at it again with yeah, me getting that kill easily right there, and boy, yeah. So back again with this ship. What can this really ideal be? Well, it's really good for being a really good stealthy scouting ship, you know, for, you know, being a destroyer, a tier 7, and with a tier 8 perk. Fair guns, fair speed, fair maneuverability, fair armor, especially if you do stupid moves like I just did, and also fairly good, very good torpedoes, stupidly powerful torpedoes for its tier. With a 81-second reload, you can just, before you know it, after you just fire them, you have them ready to go once again. And that's a cool thing about this thing. So commander-wise, what would you go with? Well, preventive maintenance is key thing, last stand typically, torpedo armament expertise, and then your concealment. After that, I'd start recommending like getting your survivability expert on this thing to buff up the health even more, to make it even more stupid. Of course, a superintendent to buff even more smokes charges, because smokes from Germans are complete crap. And I don't know, I think the next key thing for you really, if after those two, that's quite a bit of commander points. If you have anything else to squeeze, maybe you can go an anti-air build on this thing, which is not the best, but it's actually pretty good for its tier, and you can actually make them pretty powerful. But its strong suit really is its torpedoes and being a stupid surprise of a scout ship. And that's the key thing with this thing. Enemy can't see you, but you can see them, and you can just lead the torpedoes right into them. And that's the key thing about this ship. It could be really good for. If you're really going to actually put this as something else, like maybe an anti-air build, I could see it, but it's really not your ideal thing. So, is it worth the buy? I can't 100% say it is. It's not overpowered, but if you really want a challenge and you want another good tier 7 trainer for now the Germans, here you go. Thanks again, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video from Rosgrease Gaming and the Premium Spotlight. If you guys have any other questions, please fill it down below in the description. You know, you can see my Twitter page down there and all that stuff. My Twitch stream, if you guys want to see that, on Twitch 5 days a week, you know, all that kind of cool stuff. And also, you can hit that subscribe button if you liked it, of course, all that fun jazz. Remember, guys, I have the Premium Spotlight not just for, you know, me showing off premiums, it's for you guys. Show off all the premiums that Wargaming has released for the World Warships side, and if it's even worth a buy. And very soon, guys, I'm still working on it, but we're going to be starting a new series that, if you guys want to, hit that subscribe button so you guys are up to date on when that series comes out. That way you guys are looking forward to it, because I think this series for World Warships is a great idea. So I can't tell you guys what it's going to be, but trust me, it's a nice surprise, and I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you as always. See you in the next video. Take care.